All right, welcome back, everybody. I'm really pleased to be joined by Katelyn Coghlan of the Glimpse Group. Katelyn is the VP of Project Management. Last week, I was pleased to have DJ Smith, who's one of the founders, was there from the beginning. I know, Katelyn, you were there. We've been working together for about 4 years, and you were one of the ones to interview our firm. So you've definitely been there for a long time as well, and working your way up and breaking through glass ceilings, doing awesome stuff for the Glimpse Group. So how are you today?
Doing all right. Yeah, really excited to be here. I know that you've had a whole bunch of conversations with a whole bunch of different people. I'm interested to, join the party on that.
Well, I appreciate you joining me. Not only have we've done 70 interviews and going to take a little break for the holiday season, but we've also been able to sprinkle in, many of the GMs from the Glimpse Group and, doing amazing things, especially during the pandemic and pivoting so much. It's definitely an interesting time we're living in, and I've been happy that everyone's been, made themselves available, including yourself. So thank you.
Of course.
So I always start out with where are you located? We want to know where everyone's working from home or living out the pandemic.
Yeah, so I am working from home. Home is in South Orange, New Jersey, and I've pretty much been here since March. Just been, held up in Essex County, not really, going super far, maybe every once in a while for a hike out west, but nothing too crazy.
So I'm locked up in Jersey myself.
Yeah.
So what did you do? I mean, let's dig into the career. I know, again, you've been with the Glimpse Group and for a while now. What did you do before the Glimpse Group?
So prior to the Glimpse Group, I was working at Viacom. I was at Nickelodeon as a project manager there, doing a lot of linear promotions. So it really started out with helping new shows and movies create brand identities. So that's really where I got my start, was overseeing the development of a brand identity for a new show or movie that Nickelodeon was launching. And then that transitioned into more ongoing work, specifically with Nick Jr., which introduced me to somebody who was looking to launch an interactive app for preschoolers internally at Nick Jr. It was a passion project for him. He was looking for somebody who could help him out, kind of like after hours, here and there when you had time. And I, took him up on that and worked with him to scope out what that app looks like and what the interactivity looks like. We helped build a team together. We helped get some funding for it. And it became rather successful when it was launched a couple of years ago, back in 2017. I want to say it was launched in, I want to say, the springtime of 2017. So it was really fantastic to see it take off, and it was a really interesting project to be a part of. And it definitely piqued my interest more so than any of the promotions that I was overseeing the development of, or any of the campaigns that I was overseeing the development of. So I just decided that continuing a career in cable and in linear television was just not really going to work for me. I decided, because of that experience, to look into emerging technology, and I didn't really know what that meant at the time. I was just kind of looking for interactive tech and doing a lot of research and seeing what opportunities were out there. And very serendipitously, I kind of fell into the Glimpse Group by going to an NYVR night one night, way back, 4 or 5 years ago now. I can't even remember, where I met the early team at the Glimpse Group and joined as one of their first hires.
So that was one of my next questions. How did you come about, meeting the Glimpse Group folks? And that's a great answer, because you had an interest, you knew what you didn't want to do, and then went to something where an industry meetup where you figure, hey, I'm gonna bump into a bunch of people who are doing cool shit that I want to be doing. Here I am.
That's exactly it.
I didn't. We didn't prep for this, but I have to ask, because you were talking about, like, I'm at Viacom, I'm working in linear media, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. But like, to most people, that's the pinnacle, right? Like, like, I'm getting out of college, I want a job. Okay, fine. But then, like, I want to work at Viacom, I want to work at one of the big broadcasting companies. I want to do that for so many years, and for so many people that, that would be like, I made it, mom and dad, I'm making 35 a year, but you should be really proud of me because I'm, in the right place and what I want to be doing. What kind of person, I know what kind of person, but what kind of person, again, you step back and you realize that, this is beneath me. Like there's bigger and better. At what point did you realize that, and did you think it took real guts to come out with that?
I mean, I think that I was just at this point where it was like you were saying, I was very, very lucky in that, I was able to be offered an opportunity really right after school. I had an internship at Viacom and I had made some really great connections through my internship and was lucky enough to be offered a position, not immediately after graduation, but not long after graduation. And I think because I was able to get there so fast, maybe it made me a little bit jaded. I mean, call it what you will. I was able to get to a point where I had wanted to always build up to, and I was there and I had arrived, and it wasn't really what I thought it was going to be. It's great for some people, and I just didn't think that well, what I came to realize is that I wasn't that type of person that really thrived in the environment of large corporation and, linear media. It was just not something that fueled me the same way. Depending on where you work, there's always going to be restrictions. When you work for a small company, there's bandwidth restrictions. When you get to a large company, there's a lot of politics. So it's really just kind of what you're looking for. And I think when I was at Viacom, I just found that the path that I had put myself on wasn't really going to take me to the place where I wanted to be. And I didn't really know that until I spent a couple of years working there. And even at the Glimpse Group, my title has changed a couple of times, and that's a product of my evolution, trying to figure out what I want to do here and where I'm trying to grow this group. And I mean, I just like learning new things and I like challenging myself and presenting myself with new opportunities. I really don't like the idea of being put in a box. I really don't like the idea of not having transferable skills. I don't like the idea of kind of hanging my hat on something and just, taking it at face value. I tend to want to go deeper and try harder and challenge myself and, go a little bit left of center and really thrive in something that's new and unique. And, the structure of a large corporation just doesn't really provide you with that.
Absolutely. So, and honestly, that's, I mean, to understand yourself at, early in a career and to know what you want or what you don't want, or the ability to, to keep pivoting, and the fact that you're in an ecosystem that allows for that, you're aligned and you've found a match, or you keep realigning, I should say, as as you pivot. Why AR/VR? You could have chosen anything. I know you went to the meetup, but did you choose AR/VR or did it choose you?
I really just fell into it. I didn't know what AR. I mean, I knew what it was conceptually, but I had never really played with it or experienced it. Even when I was at Viacom and I was trying to think of what I wanted to do, I didn't even really know that like tech specifically was what I wanted to do. It was more like I wanted to do things that were interactive and experiential. That was a lot of what my research was centered around. Is like, can I find agencies or companies or ways to do things experiential and interactive, whatever that means, because that's what the Epic Viacom was. It was taking old TV shows and making them interactive. So I thought that was a cool concept, taking legacy and old quote media and transforming it into this new media type that's completely interactive. It's the same content but a different experience, and that was really interesting to me. So I tried to find things that were complementary to that. And VR and AR just seemed like something, upon doing more research, that did align with that. Maybe it wasn't 100% what I was looking for, but it was close enough together, and there were opportunities to go past what I had expected. And that's really the reason why I think I just kind of landed on it.
And you've been lucky. I mean, with obviously you've been one of the stewards of the growth for the company, but in your 4 years, I want to say at the Glimpse Group, you've seen it evolve and grow tremendously, but you've also seen VR and AR technology as well as the hardware grow tremendously. So in your career in AR VR with the Glimpse Group, what's been the most like aha moment or wow moment to you as far as growth?
I mean, as far as like the industry is concerned, seeing the Oculus Quest come out was a big deal. I think that that made people really excited about VR in a way that people weren't excited about it before. I think that more people were open to it and could see the possibilities once they were past that point of, oh, it's, I need a computer, I need a tethered solution, and that's a whole pain. I think that that was a really great moment for the industry. And as far as AR is concerned, I remember, and this is like kind of dating myself in the AR industry world. I remember when AR Kit was launched on Apple, and then AR Core followed thereafter, and that was really exciting because that was really the first time that we realized that we could create apps natively that are augmented reality. So that if that hadn't happened, that we wouldn't have the groundwork for pretty much everything that we do now. So those are really big pivotal moments both in the industry and for us. As far as the Glimpse Group as a company, I'm not exactly sure when precisely it happened, but I just kind of went to the office one day and all of a sudden we were 40 people strong. And it's one of those things where you add a person here or there, you acquire this person started as an intern and they rolled into an employee, and it just kind of amassed over time, and all of a sudden this small group of individuals had turned into an actual company that had divisions and goals and strategy meetings and all of these things that real companies have. And that was really exciting to see. And again, like that wasn't really a single moment, but it was something to that's really special to see over time.
And to be a part of, and to know that
Mm-hmm.
your hands help build that and make that happen. I
It's
mean, do
very
you think,
cool.
yeah, and I mean, and now as you mentioned, AR kit and the evolution. So again, no other, I can't say no other industry because telehealth has definitely evolved rapidly, due to our current circumstances and situation. Many others have also, but now not only do they does Apple and do Apple and other companies, support it? But now, you're seeing in the new, I'm probably going to met the Apple, the iPad 12s or whatever, the new iPads, iPhones. They're putting lidar in, which is meant to be there for AR as well. Can you talk about that? Because again, like they started and now they're everyone's leaning harder and harder, and they're kind of meeting you guys in the middle with the hardware. Talk about it a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I think LiDAR is really exciting because we now finally have the ability to play with it as developers. It would be foolhardy to think that now that LiDAR is installed in the Pro edition of the iPad, that everyone is immediately going to pick it up and the phone is going to be off the hook. I think what it allows us to do is play with it, learn it, really test its limitations as a technology, and test the limitations of the iPad, knowing that the next generation that comes out next year will probably be more widespread, which is great because that gives us a year to really beef up our apps and be able to sell it through, and then we'll have an ecosystem to publish to. And just as I was saying before, how AR Kit coming out was a really monumentous moment for the industry. I think that having LiDAR come out and being commonplace, granted in a pro device, not in all devices, but still, um, is going to be huge because it this is this very much feels like what AR Kit felt like when that first came out, because no one really knew to ask for it from like a client's perspective, and no one really knew like where to push it and how to optimize it and how to use it to our advantage. Now people have kind of gotten caught up. Now people are excited about it, and LiDAR is going to take it from here to here. It's going to, I mean, obviously it's going to be really reliant on 5G. So I think that is going to, be an interesting thing to keep watching. I know that everybody's talking about it, and right now it's a big marketing push. Who's got the largest 5G network and how well does it work and all this stuff. But
We'll
I think
keep Chris Rock in
regardless,
there with a commercial.
yeah,
Like,
exactly. So, I mean, it's all of this stuff is so new to assume that in like 2021 that everything is going to change, I think is a little ambitious. But what's important is that people are talking about it a little bit and developers have access to it so they can get ahead of some of the questions and some of the concerns to be able to mitigate that. I mean, that's what we've always kind of prided ourselves in being able to do, is being able to speak to our clients and let them know what the pros and cons are of every solution, every piece of hardware, every piece of software. And this is really going to give us an edge in that we're really going to understand how to use it to its full potential when it is rolled out to all these different devices. And when it is rolled out to all these different devices, like things like wayfinding are going to be a lot easier. Things like computer image recognition is going to be a lot easier. Um, a lot of, really a lot of the things where we told people, sorry, we can't do that because of bandwidth issues and hardware issues, those are all ultimately going to go away with this. So that's really exciting. But I think we're still a year from having the consumers jump on it, but that's a year for us to learn it and get ahead of it and be prepared to answer the call when it comes.
So it's the same argument that Lirono, that your CEO always makes, which is that AR is going to be successful or much faster because everyone has a device already. But you're saying that LiDAR being that technology with the iPad is like it's good for you all, but until it's on every iPhone and every iPad, even the lower models, and not everyone's buying a Pro, it just gives you guys. It's like when the first iPad came out. There were rumors that they already like had the iPad like the next model with the camera, but they just wanted to put it out there and test it. So you're saying they're planning ahead, and you guys are working in lockstep with
Yeah,
them.
we're basically doing all the dirty work for Apple. We're going to create the ecosystem that they haven't created yet using the tools that they have rolled out to us. And hopefully it'll just be a nice convergence in 2022 when they hopefully do roll it out to the masses and people want to really push it to the limits and take advantage of it. And we'll be there to make that happen.
I always wanted to know how many square feet this room is, so I'm going to use that for that for measure now.
Yeah, you're gonna have to. And I mean, like, and that was another thing that came out with AR Kit 2 was the ability to measure, and it was a resounding disappointment. So I'm hopeful that LiDAR can come and kind of save the day on that.
Absolutely. So, Brick Wall is, all about challenges and, again, it's about interviewing good people and, hardworking people in business, but it's also about, asking about challenges. So, I have to, ask, as, you're a female kicking ass leading, in a company in AR, VR in a predominantly male industry, tech, which I know that everyone's working towards, bringing more females in, but what has that experience been like, and how do you keep plowing through your brick walls in doing so?
Yeah, I mean, it's I've been really lucky in that the community that I've found and that I've built at the Glimpse Group is really supportive. I really don't feel like I've run into the roadblocks and uh, the hassle that a lot of other women have working in technology. So I'm really lucky in that respect. But that's not to say that it isn't felt when I'm the only female in the room. So obviously, I'm always trying to work to bring more women in and onboard more female developers and onboard more female managers when I'm able to, interns, things like that. Um, just because I feel like women tend to take on the weight of the world when they know they're the only one in the room. But that's not to say that I have an undesirable environment. I'm actually really, really lucky in that the tech company that I work for is really supportive and pretty much gender blind. That's really, really great. Is that, for as much as I'm saying like, oh, I wish that there was another female in the room with me, it's nice that when I am sitting in the room, I don't feel as though, anyone's putting me on the spot or putting unfair expectations on me, or inversely not giving me enough, either credit or responsibility or anything like that. I really do feel a sense of equality. So that's really fantastic. I think the other thing that's really nice to see with the VR and AR industry is that because it's so new and because it started really at the beginning of the Me Too movement. That's when I got my job at Glimpse, was like maybe a month into the Me Too movement. Um, that's really when VR and AR started becoming big. And I think because it started becoming big at that time, there was this kind of resounding agreement that this industry was going to do it right this time. I don't know if everybody in the industry is on board with that, but I know that there is like a sizable community that, is looking to not just women, but people of color, different minorities in that sense. I think that this is more of an even playing field than really any other tech in the past. Like, you're not really seeing the typical Silicon Valley. I mean, obviously Facebook is, the ultimate young white guy Silicon Valley company, but you look at all these content creators, so many of them are women. So many of these award winning AR and VR artists are women, or people of color. There's so many empathy training experiences that are centered around sensitivity training and things like that, and they're all spearheaded by different groups. So I think that as much as I think kind of big tech as a whole has a long way to go. I think that VR and AR has carved out a nice little niche for itself, and that it really has looked to women and people of color first, instead of looking reactively to diversify, as it were. So I think that that's really great. I think really the only other thing is just making sure that, I think that when, I don't know, it's interesting. I think people are both like excited when they speak to me because I'm kind of like a different face for tech, but also not surprised. So it's actually kind of like a nice intersection to be sitting in, where people feel as though, like, there's a breath of fresh air in speaking to me, but also that it's not strange. So um, yeah, it's been an interesting experience. It's been a ride, but it's ultimately been positive.
That's awesome. I mean, and that's a breath of fresh air in and of itself, because you hear so many stories of inequality and other issues in tech, and so to hear that, both in your ecosystem, but also, more industry wide, is interesting. On that note, before we end the women's topic, any women in tech that are your role model? Anybody that comes to mind?
Oh, I mean, Nani De La Pina. She's known as like the godmother of VR. She's fantastic. I mean, her work has, it's inspiring just because like she is one of the leading VR content creators in this industry. She really like drove content, especially empathetic content, to new heights really, really early on. And so I think that she's an amazing role model to look at. I think that what Christina Heller has been able to do at MetaStage is really impressive. I think the funding that she's been able to get and the holograms that she's been able to pull off and the way she's been able to distribute them is really fantastic. I know Joanna Popper. She's actually a professional acquaintance, but she's super great because she's looking at being the main headset evangelist at HP, which is just like really awesome. Kathy Heckel and Sam Wolf, they literally wrote the book on marketing, using VR and AR for marketing solutions. So I mean, like, I really could go on, but the fact that I was able to rattle off, what was that, 5 women in a matter of 2 minutes, it just goes to show that, look, tech isn't like 100% there yet, but women are really like staking their claim in this industry in a big way early on, and I think that's going to set a really nice tone for the years to come.
And then you're trailblazing, so you'll
Yeah,
people dropping your name on my brick wall podcast that won't have girls.
hopefully trying to.
Yeah, exactly. So I appreciate you answering those, and talking about that briefly. So day to day work, I know that's changed for you a bunch at the Glimpse Group, but can you tell us, give us a story of most rewarding thing day to day that you've experienced, and the most challenging, and with the challenge, how you overcame it? I know I'm giving you two back to back challenge questions.
Yeah, it's okay.
Without,
Well, so
sorry.
sorry, I'll start with the nice one first. So, typical day to day stuff that really just like makes me happy and makes me feel good is I love when our developers show off what they were able to figure out. I mean, developers are a lot like artists in that they're very into what they do. They're very passionate about it. They're very devoted to it, especially when they do it well. And coding and developing software, I don't care what software it is, I don't care what language you write, it's not easy. It's not an intuitive thing. It's something that someone really has to work hard at in order to get good at, like any other artistic discipline. And to see these developers um, be able to show off the code that they wrote that solves a problem, especially a problem that like has been plaguing us for a really long time, or a client's like freaking out about, and we didn't really know when there would be a solution ready, and it's ready sooner than we thought. That's the kind of stuff that like really makes me excited, because they just get like so amped to show me and my CTO and everybody else what they did. It's kind of like when your kid comes home with a drawing that they made from school. They're just like so excited to show you. So it's just really nice to see the enthusiasm, and be able to like, feed that enthusiasm and be able to provide that encouragement and keep them going. It's just like so fun and great to do. And you like share in the excitement with them because you know how special it is. And as far as like challenging, it's honestly like the trying to work from home hasn't been all bad, but trying to keep all of the ducks in all of the various rows is it's not easy to do, sitting from your kitchen table on a laptop. I mean, my team has been really good sports. My clients have been really good sports. I think everyone just understands that we're in this together, not to be cheesy, but we are. It's the reality. But that doesn't make it any easier. Like, I am not looking forward to having to do the commute 5 days a week. I'm looking forward to being able to like look at people and be able to, meet with them face to face and kind of read their body language and have some more in passing conversations. And that's the stuff that I miss. And when you don't have that, when everything has to be a Zoom meeting or a Hangout meeting, and or a conversation over Slack that gets deleted after 2 weeks, like that can be a little bit frustrating just with all the projects that are going on and all the stuff, all the initiatives you're trying to accomplish. But what are you going to do? Everyone's trying really hard, and I think there's a level of like, yeah, we'll make it and we'll get back to normal. But right now, trying to, I commend all managers. I commend everybody who's, trying to manage any sort of people, whether it's a teacher or whoever, any person who's trying to manage any group of people at all, during this time is should pat themselves on the back. It's not an easy task.
I completely agree. Slack is cool for a little bit, and Zoom is cool for a little bit, and if we have the VR capabilities to meet, maybe it'll be cooler for a little bit longer. And I hope
Yeah.
that happens soon. But it's definitely a different time, and I think the fact that the goalpost keeps getting pushed down the road is not
Yeah.
that makes it harder, because I think we can psychologically understand that, okay, like I can do this for X amount of months, but not knowing,
Yeah.
is definitely difficult. And so, you mentioned, the commute. What do you guys have any idea of like when you think, or is it just wait and see like the rest of us?
I think it's just wait and see. I mean, I have a feeling that nobody in the greater New York area is going to go back until there's a vaccine. That's just my speculation. Really, like the company is looking to the other companies in New York as what to do. Like, if JP Morgan went back and everything was fine, we would probably be going back or considering going back a bit more seriously. Unfortunately, they went back and within 48 hours had like 5 COVID cases. So, clearly we need to wait a little bit longer. I think we're just going to kind of see what everybody else does.
Yeah, I mean, we were working with a couple of folks who were in testing, and they were signing corporate clients, and then that fizzled quickly because unless you're supremely essential worker, everyone retreated, as JP did, as you just said,
Mm-hmm.
pretty quickly. So, two last questions before I ask you to plug yourself and the company and where everyone can find you. First one is, I've asked everyone from the Glimpse Group this question. Where do you personally see AR and VR in 10 years?
I see it being the way that we consume information. I don't see them as being independent technologies at this point. Maybe there is an element of a headset in a closed off environment to some degree. But I think in 10 years' time, that's when we're going to start seeing all those eyeglasses that people keep talking about and all the hands free stuff that people keep talking about. I mean, that's the reason why Apple is rolling out LiDARs so they can, in 5, 10 years time, be able to use that same technology in sleeker, more minimalistic, hands-free hardware. So I think a lot of what we've learned from VR and a lot of what we will learn with the new AR capabilities are going to kind of meet, and we'll have to borrow rules from each other and be able to design everything, assuming that we don't have a phone in our hands and everything is in front of us and we can look up at the world and have things um, superimposed over it. I think that, like I said, I don't think VR is going to go away. I think it'll be a bit more niche, a bit more, restricted to gaming or enterprise use. I think that AR is going to be the one, but it's not going to look the way it looks right now. It's going to resemble a hybrid of VR and AR.
So I'm just going to be typing on my bare desk, and no one else will be able to see that keyboard on me,
Something
right?
like that. Yep.
It's going to be so cool.
Starbucks is going to get really weird.
Yeah, yeah. On the Sabbath, I usually turn all my devices off, so I won't even have device. It'll just know.
Exactly.
My last question is, opportunities. Like, what opportunities have come about, in your opinion, or in your business unit, due to the pandemic? I know a lot of people have been hurting, but for everyone that hurts, there's also opportunities and ways to grow. What have you seen?
Yeah, I mean, everybody wants an alternative to Zoom. I hate to say it, sorry, Zoom, but it's like you were saying. It was great for a bit, but now everybody's got Zoom fatigue, and we all have to be able to speak to each other. We all want social experiences. We all want to be able to see each other, and how do we achieve that through other means? So we've had a lot of inquiries about how do I use AR and VR as a way to speak to my customers, as a way to have groups of people gather, as a way to host events and not have it in a conference hall, all of this stuff. I think that's what we've gotten to a lot of. Some other people have called us to take an experience that they have, like a physical experience, and bring it into VR. So that's an interesting road that I think people are going down. And a lot of universities and a lot of schools are looking to see how they can use it as a teaching device, since it's definitely more engaging and way more immersive than Zoom classes, as good as they are.
Yeah, I mean, I told DJ last week that for 50 to 60,000 a year, they should at least give each student a headset
Right.
if there was supply, and then that it would be such an easier way to pivot to to online learning, but also through an immersive experience that students are used to or may have some kind of connection to that they might be intrigued by, as opposed to like, here's an iPad, here's Zoom again. All right, now's your time to plug away. Where can you be found online, and where can folks find the Glimpse Group?
Right. So again, I'm Katelyn Coghlan, VP of Project Management at the Glimpse Group. You can check out the Glimpse Group at www.theglimpsegroup.com. We're also on Facebook and LinkedIn and YouTube if you want to check out some of our content. And if you want to learn more about me, you can find me on LinkedIn. You can also go ahead and check out www.theglimpsegroup.com if you want to send me an inquiry and learn about how I can create VR and AR for you.
Thank you so much for joining me and for taking the time. And I look forward to seeing you in the office one day again soon. Whatever.
Yeah, eventually.
Exactly. Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks, Warren.
Cheers. Bye.